Fall, shortly after you were here, I had a lump in my breast, and I had chosen, I think, to not go ahead with any action on that. And then at some point in the fall, I went into a panic about it and did what. Now I'm a physician, so you have to understand that I come from. I've been immersed in all the fear and all what one should do and all that. So then I began doing what they would say that I should do, and so I went and had a mammogram, and they found another thing. They found something else. So then I became convinced that I had metastatic cancer, and I was really stuck there. And knowing what I know about Abraham, I got more stressed because I knew that I was putting my attention on those things and couldn't get unstuck from those things. And I was really in a circle then, and I couldn't get myself out. And as it turned out, it was nothing to begin with. But I suffered for quite a time as that all unfolded. So as I was going through the process, and as I was telling myself, the more you focus on this, the more you're convinced on it, the more chance it's going to be that, but couldn't get unstuck from that.
What do you think?
It's created a desire to know how to handle that, how to help other people with that.
That's the most important thing in all of that. In other words, as you are a physician, there is not anything more significant for you to understand than what patients go through in those uncomfortable times. In other words, we would say to you that this experience was called to you by you from your desire to be of value to more people. People do not die of diseases. They die of fear of diseases. They die of the resistance that is amplified by the fear. Because the physical body has the ability to rebalance if the environment of rebalancing is allowed. The thing is, people don't come from healthy mental mindsets into disease and then get unhealthy mentally. They have the resistance going on before the disease, and then the diagnosis and often the treatment amplify it, and often it helps too. In other words, it is the reason that it has to be such an individual thing. The first care that you're wanting to give to yourself is that of ease. The first care that you're wanting to give to anyone else is the same. And we think that this experience amplified within you a resolve to do your very best to provide as much ease as is possible, because that's not the way the medical world is operating for the most part, and not just the medical world, but we want to talk about something here. We think it is the perfect time for it. You heard us talking earlier about the activation of a vibration within you. So you have a vibration activated, and someone like Abraham, or even yourself, you say, well, I don't want to have that activated, I'm going to deactivate that. And then you say, okay, I'm going to deactivate that, but it doesn't deactivate, it activates. And so then you hear us say, and it's logical to you, well, we'll deactivate that by not activating it. I will deactivate it by not activating it. I will deactivate it by neutralizing it, like in meditation, or I will deactivate it by activating something else. And I will activate something else so regularly that will become my vibrational proclivity, until in time, this is where I will just naturally go, and this is not where I will go anymore. But people have been fostered in environments where that's where they go. That's where everybody goes. And so to go over here feels really weird, because most everybody's going over there. In other words, you just feel like really an oddball to go over here when everybody's going over there. So what happens is your world, your media, anyone who's selling anything, has discovered that the best way to get you to purchase their solution is to activate within you the problem that asks for their solution. So the commercials are all oriented toward activating within you worry. In other words, you didn't even have anything in your body to worry about, but the commercials have activated it so profoundly that you went there so easily that you tortured yourself for months over nothing, you see. Because you were, like everybody else, able to allow somebody else over a long period of time, or even all at once, to do the activating in you. And that's when Esther says, and she really meant it, I can damn well choose what is activated within me. No more is somebody else going to do the activating. I'm going to do the activating, you see. So it's something that we know you can hear easily. Many of you are hearing it very easily here. It's not something that every one of your clients or patients will know readily. But when you know it, then you're able to help them know it. And just simple words like, well, I wouldn't get too worried about this, and these things do have a way of resolving themselves, and we're going to help this along. And together, in other words, you can offer all kinds of words of reassuring if your dominant intent is to soothe. There are so many people out there who aren't. Esther went to a physician wanting birth control pills, took the normal tests, and never called back about them because she wasn't interested in what the test said. She only even went there to get the birth control pills to begin with. So many weeks passed, and the nurse from the office called and said to Esther, we double billed you for the tests, and we are sorry about it, just wanting you to know that you'll see it on the credit card, and we have credited it back. And Esther said, so nice of you to call. And then the nurse said, while I have you on the phone, would you like the results of your tests? And Esther said, I guess. And so she said, okay. And Esther said, thank you very much. And then a few more weeks passed, and she gets a call from the doctor. And the doctor says to her, you should not be so irresponsible as to not call and get the results of your tests. And Esther said, well, I've been very busy, and I really wasn't worried about it. There really isn't anything for me to worry about, is there? And the doctor says, as a matter of fact, I do have some concerns. And Esther said, you should be ashamed of yourself. Scary, nice little girls like me. Now, we've taken this very far. We've exaggerated it very dramatically because this is not the norm. This is not who you are. This is what Esther attracted. This is how she was feeling about them at that time. In other words, she was mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. And so what would she attract but someone who would give her the very thing that she is condemning with every fiber of her being? But what we're giving you with all of this is that when your orientation is as it is, and that is that of soothing, you will attract those that are seeking the soothing. And most importantly, you have to be in this place where you can soothe yourself. And we think that this whole experience was dramatically and dynamically and perfectly attracted by you to get your attention so that you could perceive from some other point of view. In other words, it is so important to understand what it feels like. Yes. We would like all of you, and we're not really wanting to put you out of work. Well, really, we are.
I'm putting myself out.
We would like all of you to accept the wellness of your body and understand that your work is to provide the nucleus that allows the body to do what it knows how to do. And that environment is just an environment of joy, of ease, of appreciation, of love. You cannot be predominantly love and be sick. You cannot be predominantly appreciation and be sick. Sickness comes from frenzy and worry and overwhelmment and blame and guilt and fear and anger. We want to speak clearly. It doesn't come from that, but those emotions are indications of the thing that disallows the wellness, you see. There's just no other way around it. And so your words to us are a little bit like Esther's words to us. But there's got to be something to do. In other words, there have to be doing things. That's what you just said to us. I find that when I do something, I'm able to feel better or distract myself. And we say, do, think, have any experience that gives you ease, but let what you're reaching for be the ease. So then you begin saying things to yourself like, well, I don't have to think about that right now. Or, I'll think about that later. Or, I'll tend to that later. Right now, what I'd like to do, right now what I'd like to choose is, have you ever been with someone who you really wanted to be with? A friend, someone really stimulating, somebody that you felt that you could get a lot from or that you could give a lot to. So it was a situation that you were really wanting to experience. And you were so wanting to dig into the nitty-gritty of what they could give you or you could give them. And someone, maybe even them, kept distracting the conversation into other much less meaningful things. You'd almost get there and you'd start feeling that satisfaction welling up with you, and then someone would distract it and take it off into this other place. What we're wanting you to do is to realize that life experiences and circumstances and other people can constantly distract you off in other places, and it's up to you to keep bringing it back to the central subject. And the central subject is anything that makes you laugh, anything that makes you love, anything that makes you appreciate. And as Jerry and Esther were at the place where the motor coaches are being built, there were a lot of people around having different things done on different coaches. And Esther was in her coach listening to some people that were sitting in chairs right outside her window. And most of them wanted to complain about what was going wrong with their coaches. And it really was the dominant vibration around there. They had this little thing going. They were all sort of buzzing about it. And it was sort of one-upsmanship. Well, my problem's worse than your problem sort of thing. And there was a woman in the midst of them, Esther had not talked to her personally, who was determined to talk about happy things. So she kept bringing it around to a happy subject, and they would sort of buzz around it for a little bit, and then off they'd go again. And then she would bring it back around to a happy subject. She was truly a fish out of water. Esther wanted to say to her, give it up, because she was clearly wanting to be positive. And then Esther heard her express her first complaint. And it was like bees in a hive that all began to buzz. It was at an unconscious level, but everyone else in the group seemed to feel victory because the resistor was now with them. As individuals, you're like all of those people. There are some subjects where it's just easier to be negative. And what we're wanting you to realize is wherever your dominant focus is, in other words, that woman, if she had been determined enough, she could have changed the buzz in the hive. She could have. There just were not enough days for her. But in your own personal experience, as you determine how it is that you want to feel and practice that more, what begins to happen is, one by one, those dissenting voices that are valid and have their own perspective and are real, in other words, you're not making them up, they begin to give way to whatever it is your dominant thought. See? But the heart of that has to be your determination to feel good. Nothing else works. Your choices have to come from that perspective. I just flat out want to feel good, period. Well, what's happening in world events? It doesn't really matter because I want to feel good. Well, what's happening with the weather? Well, it doesn't really matter because I want to feel good. Well, how's your financial state? It doesn't really matter because I want to feel good. Hey man, you mean you don't want to talk about anything real? You won't talk politics, you won't talk world events, you won't talk economics, you won't even talk personal economics. What's with you? I want to feel good. I'm so determined to feel good that I'm going to sift through until I do. I want to feel good. 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 That's the only thing that matters, is I want to feel good. I want to feel good. I want to feel good. I'm choosing to feel good. I choose to feel good. I choose to feel good. Did you hear about this? Briefly, but I choose to feel good. Did you know about this? I'm aware, but I choose to feel good. I choose to feel good. And in time, what begins to happen is you develop this ability to feel good wherever you are, because you're choosing to feel good consciously. So you're offering a vibration that attracts more things like that until everywhere you go, the best of it just shows itself to you. You understand this. You apply it. You ask for this. You're really fine-tuning here. Most people still really believe, with all that they hear us ranting and raving about, that the problem has to be solved by tending to the problem. And a problem cannot be solved by tending to the problem, because the problem exists because there is resistance. And tending to the problem only makes more resistance, which disallows the resolution or the solution or the source or the well-being.